Remember how Shannon said that John would coach her before filming? Alexis just did a round of interviews, and you can tell John coached her. For example, they do Watch What Happens Live. John can't wait to answer any question from the audience, obviously. Answering why he didn't want to sign a non-disparagement clause, he said, I didn't want to put a legal muzzle on myself after being disparaged all these years. Then Alexis does an interview with Us Weekly and says the term, he didn't want to have a muzzle on him after she's disparaged him all these years. So it's like he sat her down and was like, here are the talking points that people are going to go through. I need you to get the word muzzle in there. That's for sure. We want to make sure we hit that talking point. But it was just so blatant that she's reciting the information he's feeding her, right? Oh, there's so much to talk about. Guys, we have a lot to go through because I missed last week. I ended up with like mono. I don't know. I have never slept so much in my life. I've never had my body like shut me down like that. I don't really sleep very well. So I thought at first, because what happened was last week when I was taking notes and getting ready to record, I fell asleep and woke up hours later. Like, what day is it? Because I never sleep. And I just went right back to sleep. But I took a COVID test. It wasn't COVID. I had other symptoms, but more like I had a stuffed up nose, but that could have been allergies. And I had like a weird tummy, but that could have been what I ate. So I don't know. So I didn't get a chance to do it. But last week we had this whole thing. We needed to talk about the Tamra versus Vicki of it all. Then we need to go over the Alexis interviews and all the other talking points she brought up because it's wild. And then we got to cover episode 9, and then we got to cover episode 10. So we got a lot to go through today. Timestamps, of course, will be available. So check those out if you're ready to skip past something. All right, let's do it. So first things first, I want to talk about Tamra and Vicki. I know that you're probably sick of hearing about it by now, but I didn't get to talk about it, and I really want to talk about it. So Vicki says on a podcast, she gets asked about it. She says that Tamra needs to get off OC because her daughter doesn't speak to her because of doing the show. And if you really care about your daughter, then you would stop doing the show so that you could be close with her. I would never put anything over my children. Whether or not what she's saying about Tamra is true, Vicki really cannot say that. Because when the Brooks thing was happening, Brianna was begging Vicki. And she had real good reason to be begging Vicki not to speak to that man anymore. He told Ryan, you better start hitting Brianna. So, yeah. I'm not about to be like, Vicki, you're so right. Vicki, you really aren't one to talk about that. However, she did say some things, and then Tamra was getting asked to respond. Now let's talk about Tamra for a second. Just so happens that at this point in time, she was getting a facelift, an upper facelift, a chemical peel, and some blue-hued procedure on her face. So when Vicki has this moment, and Tamra starts getting asked about it, she just happens to be in recovery from said cosmetic procedures and is shamelessly posting about that process, which was a lot to process. So she's doing an Ask Me Anything, full face right in the camera, like, boom, here I am, here's this. And she's responding to what people are asking about the Vicki thing. I'm going to play both the clips back to back. The first clip is what she said at first, and then 23 hours later is the second clip. So I'm just going to play them now.
Hey guys, I love answering all your questions, but I'm getting bombarded with this Vicki shit. Like, I don't give a shit. This woman is disgusting in every sense of the word. To go after my family and everything, that's what she does. I don't know why she's doing it. Maybe she needs a little attention. Maybe someone needs to pat her back like a little puppy, but I'm not going to do it.
Well, you're giving her attention, though.
I'm going to take parent advice from a woman that chose her boyfriend Brooks over her own daughter, a woman that had a boyfriend that told Ryan he should beat his wife to keep her in line and to stay with him. Like, to me, that's disgusting. What has happened in my relationship through my divorce and my kids. It's very tragic and sad. And for her to even talk about it is disgusting. So Vicki, go away. Leave me alone. I'm going to ask you for the last time. Leave me alone. Nobody cares what you have to say. Ever. Go away.
I would like to comment on this. It's a little tough to wrap my head around Tamra thinking that going after someone's family is like crossing a line. When last season, the way she was going for Jen and Ryan and like trying to out that they, according to Jen, it's not true, but that they were having sex and being physical before Jen wants to admit. And that would be damaging to someone. And like talking about the divorce, like Tamra was doing that. So it's a little rich coming from Tamra. But okay, that's how she started, right? Here we go. Here's the second clip.
I've tried so hard not to listen to what Vicki had said about me. And I just keep getting bombarded with it. I'm in just disbelief. In such disbelief, this woman would go so low. Do you know what it's like to lose a child? Do you know what it's like? It's the most painful thing in the world to insinuate it was because I was on the show. No, that's not what it is. You win, Vicki. I don't know what you want from me. You got it. You win. Okay? You kick me when I'm down. You hurt me all the time. I can't do it anymore. I don't want any part of this.
What?
I just want to show whatever you
Oh, sure. Okay.
leave my family alone. Please.
Okay. So again, it's just a little weird that she's like, I can't believe she's going after. I want out. I'm done. Whatever you want, Vicki, you win. What? I don't know. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. So, okay. Obviously, Tamra denies that that's the reason why Sydney and her don't speak. She's obviously like, that's not the reason. The show, it has nothing to do with the show, is what she said. So then All About the Real Housewives posted a Facebook post from Sydney herself, Tamra's daughter. And I don't know what year this is from, but I'm going to read it because I vaguely remembered this post. Someone had posted it a couple years ago too. So I'm going to read it because I'm going to read it. I want to start by clearing some things up as my mother continues to talk about me despite me requesting her to stop speaking of me publicly, as I don't want to be associated with her or the show. For starters, I did not move out when my parents got a divorce, nor did I choose my father's side in the divorce. My parents separated in 2010. I moved out of my mother's house in 2013. Me leaving has nothing to do with the divorce. It has to do with the living conditions at my mother's house and the way she treated me and still treats me today. In regards to choosing sides, I actually chose my mother's side when my parents separated. This was due to the fact that my mother, the true parent alienator, would constantly talk negatively about my father in front of me and my siblings, putting us kids in the middle of my parents' arguments. She even called us Simon or Mini Simon when we did something bad or told us that we were acting like your father. This parent alienation caused me to resent my father and take her side. However, as I got older, what she was doing along with other things that were However, as I got older, I realized what she was doing along with other things that were toxic. The reason I left my mother's house are that she was neglectful, leaving us at home with no food or simply ignoring us entirely. She constantly put herself first, and the biggest reason was that she was mentally and emotionally abusive. She was no mother to me. This was an unhealthy environment for all us kids, and unfortunately, I was the only one to recognize this and take steps to get out of that toxic environment. I have explained this to her numerous times in court, in therapy, and when we would meet up, that the only reason I am not living with her is because she continues to do things that push me out of her house, like talking about me on the show or press or social media, doing embarrassing things on the show, lying to me and putting herself first, to name a few. I went to therapy with my mother for 3 years. I was forced to by the courts and my father. I was forced by the courts and my father to try to mend the relationship with my mother. Unfortunately, my mother is unable to recognize that she is in the wrong and continues to put blame on everything else. If she would have put the effort into actually working on our relationship instead of talking and crying about how much she, quote, misses me on the show and wishes things were different, she wouldn't have missed my entire high school career. Now, this part's really hard to read. My father has pushed me to have a relationship with my mother, forcing me to go meet her in and out of therapy. He even forced me to let her come to my graduation because it was a milestone. When I told my mother that she could come, I gave her a few conditions. All I asked was that she remains cordial with my father and my stepmom and to not post anything about my graduation anywhere. Not even 2 weeks after I graduated, she posted a photo of me and shared it with her 1 million followers, knowing that it would get picked up by the press. The one thing I asked and have been asking for 4 years has been to not talk about me because I don't want to be in the spotlight. But again, breaking her promises as per usual, she puts herself first, her fame. She puts herself, her fame, her reputation, and her bank account before me. If she really wanted a relationship, she would keep her promises and recognize that it is no one else's fault but hers that I do not want to be in her life, or I do not want her in my life. Although I do not want to be in the public eye, I felt the need to clear these lies up and set the record straight in hopes that it will straighten my mom out so that she is held accountable and is forced to do the right thing. My mom has been portraying the innocent, erased mother whose daughter was estranged from her due to divorce and an evil ex-husband, when in actuality, she is the sole reason why I do not want her in my life and will have a relationship with her and will not have a relationship with her. Instead of playing the innocent, erased mother character, she could have been trying to actually fix our relationship and change her ways. This is so hard to read. However, the character keeps her relevant and is her only storyline. Why would she actually try to get me back? Without the estrangements, she is no longer pitied and talked about, and her fame and fortune go down the tubes. Well, that's a little ridiculous, but... Then also posted by All About the Real Housewives is Gretchen back. This is from, damn it, I wish there was a year on this. Gretchen at some point commented on this post and said, "You have no idea how your brave words are helping so many who have been wronged by your mother's manipulation and lies as well. So thank you for being brave enough to speak the truth. I am so sorry your mother and your family is going through any of this, especially publicly, but continue to stay strong. Your morals and strength are commendable and inspiring." Tamra then replied to her and said, "I usually don't give this troll any attention because it's hard to read this again, but it's because it's exactly what she wants. But after years of her bashing me and now reaching out to my daughter, I must say, Gretchen, you are the biggest piece of shit I've ever met. Move on with your sad, empty, childless life and stay out of mine, you thirsty wannabe. You are obsessed with my life, and I haven't even seen or spoken to you in 5 years. #move on. You have no idea what my family is going through or what the truth is, nor do you care. It's just an opportunity for you to get your name in the press. #obsessed freak. Funny, you of all people should be talking about morals, laughy face. You have none." Damn. Then, Sydney had posted a screenshot of her conversation with her mom. And what you see is Sydney saying to her mom, "Also, at graduation, I don't want a scene or anything with you or dad and whatever. Also, I don't want you to take pictures and post them anywhere. No tweets or anything either, because you know I don't want to be posted about." Tamra replies, "Okay, I don't post pictures of you, Sydney, and would never do that. And I have more class than to throw a scene with your dad." That is like That's such a toxic response from a mother. Like, that's not a good response to that. Because I remember when Tamra told the story of Sydney's graduation, and then she told me not to post, and then I posted, and so that's it. We haven't spoken since. And I remember thinking, well, it was pretty simple. She said not to post, and then you posted, so like, yeah, she's going to get mad. So even though I was like, I've kind of always been a pseudo fan of Tamra's. I'm like, she literally said, don't do that. You did it. So therefore you are now not speaking. But then even to be like, I have more class than to throw a scene with your dad. No, you don't. Don't lie to yourself. But then Sydney responds back to her, okay, I'm just telling you to make sure because in the past you have, even though I told you not to, I'm assuming post. And then Tamra writes back, I told you I won't post. Oh, that is some toxic mothering, I gotta say. If your daughter is super nervous about it and you're like, I told you I won't. Ugh, I never do. So I know that there's more to it. And it should be said that the two other kids want to live with Tamra and have cut out Simon. So, I guess if you're keeping score, two out of the three prefer Tamra versus Simon. So obviously we don't know everything, but it's very clearly written here that, she wanted you not to post, you did anyway. And like, you keep I hate to get involved in this, and I see how much pain Tamra is in. And I don't really think that Vicki's one to speak on how to be a good parent when literally we watched her choose Brooks over Brianna over and over and over again. But it does appear like Sydney is literally saying, like, she's not some sad victim. I made it very clear why I'm not talking to her. The whole thing about not having food, that part is kind of nuts to me. That doesn't seem like, that's like just shitty parenting. Leaving us without food? That I don't know about. But regardless, it got a little crazy, and I think it even though Tamra doesn't want us to talk about it, it should be discussed that she has that whole post up. Tamra's like never mentioned anything. She's never said, when Tamra talks about Sydney, she never says, I fucked up. She asked me not to post, and I posted, and she can't trust me. It's all like just, Simon alienated me. So we are coming into fall. We are getting our sweater weather, and there's never been a better time to have Jenny Kane sponsor this podcast because nobody does sweaters like Jenny Kane. I'm wearing the cropped cashmere cocoon cardigan. I love this thing so much. I'll blast the air conditioning and sit in front of it just so I can wear the sweater. Everything Jenny Kane does, it's like elevated basics, elevated essentials. And if you need something that pairs well with literally anything in your closet, look to the Flynn cashmere sweater. It has a perfect V-neck, and it's easy to layer and style. They also have an amazing collection of home essentials. They got timeless furniture pieces, cozy pillows and throws. They got incredible scented candles, like to die for. And they have a really good rewards program where you can earn up to 10% back with every purchase, and joining is completely free. Find your new uniform at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code SHESPEAKS at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code SHESPEAKS. Let getting dressed be one less thing you got to worry about. Embrace your fall aesthetic with Jenny Kane. All right, there was that drama. We got to keep it fucking moving here. Let's go into Alexis and the interviews and John and all of that stuff. So Alexis's agenda, what she's been told she needs to say is that there was a lot more the viewers do not get to see. It looks like all I do is talk about John Janssen and sex. There's so much more. No wonder they don't like me, that kind of thing. But I'm going to say that everyone in their confessionals and whatnot they're commenting that you are talking about John Janssen a lot. So yes, it could be editing, but it's getting validated by what people are saying, which is she's just won't stop talking about John Janssen, huh? Everything's John Janssen. So I then need to believe that even your cast was in on this like weird edit that you're getting. I just don't think you realize how much you talk about John Janssen. Also, I think that Alexis wants to, she said this a few times, and I doubt I believe this. She says that John didn't want her to do the show. I don't know if I buy that. Because I can't imagine if her man, who she's willing to go to bat for, was like, do not do the show. I don't want you doing the show. That she'd be like, fuck it. I'm doing the fucking show. And the only reason I could think that maybe she did that was because she didn't want to be dependent on John financially and thought that this could be an opportunity for her to make her own money, be independently wealthy. I could see that for sure. But I just don't really believe that John didn't want her to do it. I think John, when the DUI happened and he saw the feedback that Shannon was getting, and a lot of us were like, she's not doing nearly enough, not taking this seriously enough at all. I think he thought it would not be a problem if Alexis went in locked and loaded with ammunition against Shannon, and it would be fine because Alexis says on, I think this is on the Virtual Reality podcast, which is the Page 6 podcast with Evan and Danny. Alexis wants to make sure, because her and John have seen the whole extortion word being thrown out there. And they need to make sure they get it on record that Alexis never technically said John was going to release the videos. She blurted it out. She was tired. They'd been filming. And she claims that she was getting pushed to talk about John and Shannon all the time. And she didn't want to, but she just kept getting asked about it. And I'm sure there's an element of truth to that because it's producers being like, okay, that's what we're going to drive is this whole connection. And it feels like Alexis isn't really good at just thinking for herself because you see with Jim Bellino, she was just whatever my husband says. And now with John, it's whatever John says. And so if you've got producers asking questions, it's like she can't steer the ship. And she was friend of. She said she'll never come back as a friend again. If she comes back, it's got to be full time. Okay, moving on for that. We'll put a pin in that for now. About the videos is she claims she was tired and whatever. And so she just blurted it out because this is up in Big Bear, everyone was so supportive of Shannon. Where's my sympathy type of thing. So it was like, do we need to show the videos so we can get some accountability? Okay, I guess I get why if you're tired and sick of that, you would say that. But why would John tell Alexis about the videos after she started filming? Alexis says what she saw in these videos, she wishes she had seen it before signing on because she doesn't know if she would have signed on if she had seen what she saw and like even just being in the same room as Shannon, because she is really sticking to her guns that Shannon almost ran over his daughter. But why would John tell Alexis about these videos after she started filming if it wasn't to rile her up and get her locked and loaded with fucking ammunition so that she could bring it out on the show? If he really didn't want this getting brought up, he wouldn't have told Alexis about it after they started filming. You know what I'm saying? Okay, another point that she keeps saying about these videos is that John has sole custody of the videos. She keeps saying this term, sole custody. He has sole custody of the videos. I do not remember if she said that. I can't tell if she says she has seen them, but she says that John never planned on releasing them. And if Shannon wanted to watch them, she could come watch them with us. So you think offering Shannon, you're more than welcome to come watch these videos with us. Yeah, Shannon's going to come by and sit down with you and John and watch these fucking videos. Why? I think John, after the DUI and going into this season, I think I've been trying to make this same point and I keep getting sidetracked. So I hope you're able to piece together what I'm talking about. What I really started this whole point saying 1,000 years ago is that John came into this season, even though he pretended he didn't want Alexis to do the show. I don't believe that. He thought that a Shannon takedown would be perfect because people are mad at her from the DUI. Everyone was very excited about Alexis coming back. So he was like, sweet. So I think he loaded her up with ammunition to do exactly what she's doing. Then the show starts airing and he sees all this really bad feedback and he needs her to walk back the shit she did that he armed her with. You know what I'm fucking saying? Like, she wouldn't have known about the video. You told her about the video, but now she's got to sit in all these interviews and be like, John, I regret bringing it up. I should have never brought it up. I was upset. John did not ever plan on doing that. And it just feels like she's hitting these talking points and she's a puppet for him. The way he was sitting and looking at her when she was on Watch What Happens Live made me nervous. So I can just imagine, and she is a perfect candidate for brainwashing. She is ready to go when it comes to just reciting what you want her to say. And I'm sure she would be offended at that notion. I don't think she realizes that's what she's doing. But she is just believing anything and everything that John says. And now her tune in interviews is that we were not going to, excuse me, we're not going to release the videos. That was never the point. I just was mad. But when we're watching it in real time, we're seeing people like Gina go, don't do this. Don't bring out the videos. And Alexis going, well, this is about someone else was hurt in this whole thing. Okay. And it's John. Okay. And so my man deserves to have the truth out there. That has nothing to do, by the way, with Shannon's DUI video, ring camera, whatever footage like that. The truth needing to come out and ruining her life with these videos. Two different things. Another thing on Watch What Happens Live that this just reminded me of is that I was so grateful. Andy goes, what truths, what lies, like, what do you need to clear up? Like, what has Shannon said that's been so wrong? And he's like, I don't want to get into details. I'm like, oh, please. But then he says that, she was my sugar mama. That was not true. That, which obviously I feel like it's proof that she was. It's like proof that she was maybe like paying for trips and things because he's so insecure about it that he's like, that's not true. I wasn't. But, you know, he knows like he probably did let her pay for a trip. Like he seems like that type of guy that would let you do that. And then when he gets called out, be like all offended. So, okay. But that I fat shamed her. I could see you fat shaming her. I could see you making a little passive aggressive dig comment about it. I could totally see you doing that, sir. But now we've got the whole Alexis. That's the spin. The spin is he was never going to release the videos. And honestly, he's a victim in all this because his truth has not been told. And she's going to continue to say non-truths about him. All this man does every time he talks, for me, all he does is kind of prove that he's a creep. Like him, the way he was sitting there looking at Alexis during Watch What Happens Live was like, oh, it's like he's practically saying the words he wants her to say. Like, don't go off book. I don't think he realized what Alexis was acting like during filming. I don't think he was aware of how kind of nuts she was acting. Because Alexis, you may try and say that you were, going through I don't know. She's kind of trying to like walk back a lot of her behavior. She was emotional. Her mom had died 4 months prior to filming starting, and she was in a tough place. But she was like all over the top and all like, "Woo, I am here and I'm on camera," and like. I don't think John had no idea when this season started airing that it would go like it's going. He was like, finally, everyone's going to love Alexis and they're going to be against Shannon. And it's been the opposite. It's worse than ever for them. So she's trying to walk it back. But when you watch the show, you're like, but you seem pretty eager to talk about these fucking videos. And you seem not, it seems like John is the one who said, I'll release the fucking videos. Like when she was on the phone with him and crying and whatever, and then was like, oh no, Shannon's such a bitch and John will release the videos. Like it seemed like John had just said, I'm gonna release the videos if she's not fucking careful or something like that. And then Alexis was just parroting it. So it's despicable that he's parading her out there reciting what he wants her to say now, which is just taking all the blame on. It's like, even though, yes, I was saying I'm going to show the videos, you weren't supposed to say that on camera, which is what would happen to Shannon. Shannon would have to like backtrack things she said because John's like, no, that can't be on camera. It's so controlling. Okay, so this is what I got for the tea, for the Orange County tea. We just got through a wicked heat wave here in LA, and I had to have the window closed in the room that I keep my cat's litter box. And I was really worried it was going to start to smell disgusting, but it didn't because I used Pretty Litter. And those odor-absorbing crystals did their job. I don't know why it took me so long to get on the Pretty Litter bandwagon. I am never going back to my old litter. I used clumping litter that was so dusty and heavy. Pretty Litter, it's a lightweight 6-pound bag, and it's crystals. And the crystals absorb the liquid as well as the odor. But these crystals also change colors to indicate signs of potential illness in your cat, like a urinary tract infection, kidney issues. I have personally seen the litter change and called my vet and made an appointment for my girls. So thank you, Pretty Litter. And Pretty Litter just ships free right to my door. So I never run out. Pretty Litter is amazing. You have to try it. Go to prettylitter.com/she-speaks to save 20% on your first order, and you get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/she-speaks to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/she-speaks. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. But now let's get into the episodes. Episode 9. I'm obsessed with Heather having a seating chart on the PJ to Sonoma. Okay, Alexis, Gina, and Katie are in the back, which was a big statement for her because Shannon was up front. So there you go. Alexis and John, they had their red carpet debut. They called it a debut. As over the top as Gina can be in her interview sound bites, I did appreciate her being like, they called it their debut as if they're like going on a tour and there will be more red carpet appearances. But anyway, Emily shadily brings up right there in the middle of the PJ that Shannon bought John's Ferragamo shoes. They say that, I mean, it was shady of Emily to bring this up. Like, let Shannon have her little subtle under her breath comment about the picture, like, oh, just glad he's still wearing those Ferragamo shoes I got him. Because then Tamra's able to be like, oh my God, pathetic. Like, get over it. Who looks at an entire picture of their ex? And I'm like, everybody looks at a picture of their ex if it's in their face and it's all over social media. So that's not that fucking weird, guys, that she would have noticed that, especially if she bought the shoes. I think I would notice that too. Tamra, though, she yells back to Alexis, who doesn't have context for what they're talking about. She just hears Tamra go, what shoes was John wearing last night? And then Alexis knows they're talking about her, obviously. I liked Heather looking up the shoes. She's like, oh, $375 to $475. They're not that expensive. Obviously, that's a very expensive shoe to most of us. But I like how rich Heather is. She's like, oh, that's like $5 to me. Okay, so they get to Sonoma. In the cars, Alexis is with Gina and someone else. I don't remember who. But she's saying the words, I don't want to make it worse with Shannon. And Gina's like, okay, well, then you can't release those videos. And the way Gina does this with her, it's like, she's like, you don't want to, come on, right? Like, right? You don't want to be the executioner. You don't want that on your conscience. And I feel like Alexis was kind of thrown off because she's only been telling people about it who were supportive of her showing not supportive, but like not willing to say that to her maybe. And she kind of looks for the Jesus Christian response, but there isn't one. And she goes, well, I kind of just want her to understand how bad she's hurt people, and the devastation. It's not my fight, but it is my man. Huh? There is no Christian kind reason to threaten these videos. But again, here's my point. She could have said, we're not going to release them. I just know of the videos. I shouldn't have brought them up. I guarantee Alexis told John that she brought up the videos and he was like, good. I guarantee it. All right. Shannon has a confessional in this that I thought was very poignant. And she said, what is most important to John is that people think he's a good guy. And this is step one. Make Shannon look bad, and he's taking drastic steps. Exactly. But that is his thing. It's like his reputation is what he's so concerned about. But if you were just not a shitty person, I don't think we'd have to be worrying about it. It's like, stop with this, like, oh, the lies, all of the lies he's had to endure. You were in a relationship with Shannon. I'm so sorry that Shannon, like, what? I don't know exactly. It wasn't that bad. You had a shitty relationship, clearly. You're not taking any accountability. It's all that isn't that kind of nuts, too? That, like, they were together for as long as they were. He chose to be there. They got back together a bunch of time. They broke up, got back together. He made those choices. Yet now it's all I was a victim of Shannon. No, dude, not believing it for a second. All right. This is just some weird controlling thing you have. Is okay. Heather, they're all there for that amazing foundation. What is it? Family equality or quality? Something. I should know it since I'm saying there's such an amazing foundation. But only Alexis and Tamra and Jen, but Jen shows up late, are invited to the like champagne tasting or the sparkling whatever tasting event thing. But Jen is late because she was at mediation with her ex, and she's like, it was terrible. He won't even look at me, which I'm like, wait, I could have swore the last time we checked in with her about the ex, he was okay with her. But I guess like last season, didn't he have a whole scene where he was like, I abandoned you and like, I understand what happened? Or am I making that up? Didn't that happen? I could have swore it did. But anyway, so now they're not cool at all. But she's only getting $6,000 in child support, which for 50,000 children that they have is not a lot of money. Especially not in Orange County. But that's like, clearly that is the bare minimum. And doesn't that also go off of like income too? And isn't he not working, or isn't there something there? Like her world has crashed and burned. I'll say that. That's sad. But anyway, so then John and Alexis's red carpet debut gets brought up, and Tamra says something about Shannon being at R&D Cafe by herself with her notebook and her drink, and evidently had a big reaction. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then they flash to Tamra reading some article, I guess, that said to Shannon and Heather and Emily, they're in a car, and Tamra's reading this, and it says, she Ubered to the mall and was drinking a cocktail by herself. And Shannon's like, it was a Pellegrino cranberry, which I don't think anyone believes, and they shouldn't. But then they just drop it. We don't get any more details. Did she do something at this bar? She said something about having a big reaction, Tamra did, but they don't get into what the big reaction was. Like she gets Ubered to the mall and was drinking a cocktail by herself. But what was the big reaction? Did anything happen? What are we talking about? They just left it there. So I don't know exactly what Shannon did that got headlines. Do I believe she was drinking a cranberry Pellegrino? No, probably not. Also, why do you Uber to a bar if you are Shannon Bedore at this point? At that point, at least. At that point, right? So I was like, that's dumb of her. So anyway. Heather tells the whole crew that she's with that she invited Katie, quote, in the spirit of inclusion. And Tamra calls her out like, that's kind of not nice, but okay. Tamra goes, you should get to know her. You never got to know her. And Heather goes, and why wasn't I given the grace of getting to know me? Great point. Honestly, excellent point, Heather. Why weren't you given that grace? Why is Tamra buddying up with the new person? It's just so calculated and like formulaic that she's doing this and she's going to bat so much. And then she's taken this concept, this story, like the more I think about it and the more I get to know Katie, the more I think Gina was behind it. And they flash to some workout that Tamra, Jen, and Katie did where the windows have to be all blacked out. It was kind of weird. But Tamra says to Katie in this little flashback scene, Gina was calling me to tell me about you. She hung you out to dry. Okay. Katie's like, she's trying to get out of being in trouble. You said I should say it, Gina. I said it, and now you're retracting. And I'm like, you're going off of what Tamra's saying. Now it's at first she was like, wait, really? Did I get set up? Now she's convinced she's been set up just because Tamra has said it. It's crazy. Jen then they're still sitting in their little lunch thing. Jen gives Alexis the worst advice ever. She's like, you should try to talk to Shannon this weekend. And Heather's like, no. They all are like, no. That's not the move. We're not doing that. Okay, moving on. Tamra, though, tells her, brings up that Shannon was talking about the lawsuit. And of course, Tamra playing all sides. She was like sympathetic when she was talking to Shannon about it. But now she's like, I mean, did she pay? Did she? And Alexis says, I said, Johnny, let's just settle. And he's like, fuck no, after everything I've gone through. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Proof right there. John was not, if Alexis was trying to temper him and get him to settle and he's going, fuck no. I doubt that he was not talking about the videos and not expecting Alexis to, yeah. Mm-mm. Apparently Shannon has ruined his name in the community. That's not possible to do. If it's really like in the community and people who really know what's going on in Orange County, they would know that Shannon's just talking bullshit. His reputation wouldn't be ruined just because of what Shannon's saying if he is not the person Shannon is saying. What are you talking about? Ruined in the community. That's just a weird concept at this point, right? Okay, then the other women are at the spa. And obviously the John and Alexis thing and all that comes up. And Shannon is upset. And this is her deadline. She was supposed to submit her response or her settlement or her whatever to John's lawyer that day. And he had rejected it because she offered him half. And he wants the whole thing. And so she's crying about that. And Emily's giving this advice, like, just write the check. And Shannon's like, I don't want to. It's a principle at this point. And Emily, knowing about the videos, is like, you should just write him the check. And Shannon doesn't have context for that yet. And then finally, Gina makes the mistake of going, yeah, this is too much, and then the video thing. And then it's like, what video thing? It's like, that's kind of why Emily was saying, just write the check. Because that is, it's essentially what it is. It's extortion. Now, did Alexis say that if she doesn't pay, he will release the videos? I don't know. I don't know exactly if he said I don't know. But like, it seemed as if that was being held over Shannon's head in some capacity by Alexis and John. So even though Alexis is trying to be like, he never threatened to release them, he didn't release them, whatever. It's like, it's still, you guys were still holding that over her head somehow. So Shannon has to go call her lawyer and tell the lawyer, like, pay him whatever he wants. And obviously this whole spa day is just gone. But Shannon then goes to Heather's room because she's a fucking sobbing disaster of a mess. So Shannon's crying and she tells her what she's heard about these videos, and Shannon brings up something. She says that her friend was like, wait, how long after you drove out of John's driveway did you get in the accident? And she's like, maybe 3 to 5 seconds. And the friend was like, why didn't he come out and check on you? And then Shannon goes, come to think of it, I didn't remember this, but I had sent him a picture of myself from the site, from the crash. And he didn't respond for like hours. Like I guess at 1:30 in the morning, and the crash happened at midnight. At 1:30 in the morning, he sends a text back that just said, "Hey, what the heck's going on? The cops just brought Archie here. Where are you?" And Heather's trying to be like, maybe he didn't see it, but then Shannon shows her the picture. Now, is it possible Shannon is not technologically savvy and didn't send it? I don't know. I just know that when I'm imagining when Shannon got that text from John, her text was above that with the photo of herself. So what she's alleging that John heard the crash and didn't come out and like went to sleep even though he knew she was hurt. I bet he was wasted too. They like to drink together. Is that what she's alleging? The photo of Shannon. We'd already seen it in the preview. So the trailer warned me and prepped me for it, but it is really hard to watch or to see. It's like, because again, that woman was pretending to walk the dog. Was that in the report or did someone just make that up? Because I've been acting like that's real, but I thought it was in the report. And so with her face bleeding like that, she was trying to walk. Poor Archie, all scared. Archie is just the cutest. My God. Archie, whenever she posts Archie content, oh my God, did you guys see Shannon posted a picture of Archie and it said, Archie is in heaven with all his dog friends. And everyone was like, did Archie die? No, she just meant he's literally he's having the time of his life. It's like the scariest 20 minutes for people. All you people who cook all your meals at home, how do you do it without HelloFresh? When I was in my era of going to the grocery store to get ingredients for a recipe I found online, I wasted so much food and money. With HelloFresh, you pick from the 50 recipes they've got, and you can pick from fit and wholesome, quick and easy, vegetarian, family-friendly. They send you just what you need with a lovely step-by-step recipe card that makes cooking doable even for idiots like me. And you can skip a week if you're not going to be around, you can't cook at home, skip it, don't worry about it. You can swap proteins and veggies. Like if you love everything about a meal but you don't like the protein, swap it out. Very customizable. Also, right now, they've got a breakfast special going. So for free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com/freeshespeaks. One free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life. Just by going to HelloFresh.com/freeshespeaks. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Okay, episode 10. So obviously we're still going with the Shannon, but I was surprised Shannon's going to go to dinner. Shannon's going to pull it together and go to dinner. Emily goes over to Alexis's room though and catches her up, and Emily is not afraid of saying like, "Are you? Is this what you guys really want to be doing?" And then Alexis turns it into, "Why did Gina bring it up?" Come on, you can't give people this information and expect it not to accidentally come out. It's like, it's such a big thing. You cannot blame that on Gina. It was an accident. And I love that Gina's like, I really don't care if she thinks it was like a bad move. Like it was an accident. But Alexis decides not to go to dinner. She stays in her room and she was all ready to go too, man. The next time you see her, she's makeup off, glasses on, calling John in her hotel room. So I guess that was nice of Alexis. And I'm hearing, I trust Heather, her judgment of people. Is that bad? Is that stupid to me? But I kind of do. And when she says that she doesn't think Alexis has a mean bone in her body, even though we are seeing sort of not proof of that, I want to believe her. So I kind of felt like her not going to dinner and staying in the room and just not putting people through that, and Shannon, was like a sign of her not being a total bitch asshole. Okay, maybe? I don't know. So the next day, they're splitting up into two groups. But before they leave, Katie's talking to Jen about how she wants to have a talk with Heather. Katie is fully leaning into the story that Tamra's been spinning. I feel like I'm getting all the blame for something that actually wasn't my fault. And Jen is like, okay, so you just want to explain to her, Heather. And Katie goes, Heather, I was told to tell you. And then in the moment, she made it out to look like it was all me. And even Jen is like, Gina was? Because this was not at all what Katie has been saying this whole time. And from Jen's perspective, like, I don't know if I see that. You are Katie, you're literally letting Tamra play you. You're letting her play you. Now, a friend of mine brought up that Gina had in the first episode of the season, which I will go back and watch by next week so that I can talk about it. She said that Gina did seem a little anti-Heather in the first episode of this season. And so she can see Gina wanting Katie to bring this thing up, but then changing her mind. I can see. We're not getting a straight answer from Katie, and even Tamra herself in real time when she did an interview like 2 weeks ago or last week or something. She said that at first she thought she had a read on Katie, but as the season goes on, she's like, maybe I don't know if you're telling the truth. Like, maybe I'm not sure now if that's what was happening. Okay, but Katie is going to be joining the Jen, Katie, Heather, Shannon group for this sound bath. You guys, Shannon, I when Shannon shows up to the sound bath, like, I don't have a hairbrush. She's so out of it. Shannon was in the funniest mood. And then the sound bath is starting and she's coughing the whole time. And then they do that like connecting with the earth thing, and Shannon just sticks her face in the grass and is like rolling around. Like, she reminds me of MJ. Like when MJ would just be a mess and be shameless about it. Like, it has that same energy. She showed up to that the way she walked in. I was like, girl, what's happening here? I don't have a hairbrush. Okay, that's the least of your problems at this point. What the fuck? Oh my God. Okay, so while they're doing that, and then when they get to the when they're done with their little exercises and they're drinking their tea, Katie tries to bring up the whole paparazzi thing, and Heather just shuts her down. So that's how their day goes. The other people, Tamra, Emily, Alexis, and Gina, they go to some cooking class with Mags. Mags seemed fun. She seemed like a good time. But Alexis acknowledges to the girls that they're all in a tough spot, and she's sorry that they're having to be put in the middle of it. And it actually opens up Gina to her a little bit, like, okay, cool. Like, thank you for acknowledging it. Please don't think that we're against you just because we're trying to be supportive to Shannon. But Emily looks at Tamra and goes, you don't even have any compassion left for Shannon. And Tamra is like, I don't. I really don't, because I don't want it in my life. And watching her order drinks and do all this stuff, it's just like a slap in the face or whatever she says. That being said, it is just wild that Shannon continues to order drinks at every little sit down that they have on this vacation. It's and like every time she orders one, they're like, oh, are we supposed to acknowledge it? It's like, she couldn't though. Like, if she didn't order a drink, I do think this is one thing Tamra's right about. If Shannon doesn't order a drink and if she quits drinking, then it would be admitting that she did have a problem. And so at this point, she has to keep doubling down that she can just have a drink or two. She's got to keep doubling down on that. And that's like, not the best. But okay. This family equality event has a fashion show element. Heather Dubrow has teamed up with Susan Bender. And I looked up Susan Bender. She's big time. Very expensive shit. Very expensive stuff. But Heather walked in the American Heart Association red dress event, which is what inspired her to want to do this fashion show here. And I don't know why I thought that was so sweet. And I was like, I bet that like Emily would hate that. Like, oh, because you did a fashion show. It wasn't even a real fashion show. It was for the American Heart Association. And now you want to do some fashion show because, oh my God, you're such a model. I feel like Emily would hate Heather for that. I find it cute and endearing that she did the American Heart Association fashion show and was so happy and loved it so much that she's like, we should do fashion shows for family equality. I don't know. I thought it was cute. And it's a chance for them to show off the clothes. All right, Emily, though, let's talk about this. Because I'm going to try to be very sensitive because I relate to the fear of going to something like this where you've got clothes you've got to try on and you're with nothing but skinny bitches. I, too, would have the same fear. The difference is I've had a lot of therapy. So I know if I'm in a situation that's highly triggering, most likely what's happening is I'm overly sensitive because every single insecurity is right here at the surface right now. So I do not for a second believe that Heather had any intentions of calling Emily some sort of fat ass by asking her to bring jeans or even the outfit choice. Because when they showed the other people's outfits, I'm like, they don't look all that different. It's not like you. So it was. And if Emily could get into some therapy, she's got a few very basic things she still needs to work through. For example, her getting so mean with Jen and having to go, oh my God, I think I'm triggered by this. Like, you need to go to therapy, get your toolkit, because you're putting this on Heather and it's not that. It's not that. And I know I see next week she's going to expect Heather to listen to her and validate her feelings. But Emily is constantly projecting onto Heather and not aware of it. It's like textbook. It's so obvious what's happening. Just get a little therapy and get your tools, because moments like this are going to trigger you, but it's at no fault of Heather's in this case. And it's going to be kind of frustrating to see her carry this for however many episodes, mad at Heather over this, because it's like, oh my God, girl, you just need to tune up with the therapist. Figure out a way to filter these words out and don't put it on someone else, because it's just like basic. But here she is getting all upset and being I know what that feels like. When I worked at Soho House, they did big Halloween events, and all of us would have to get dressed according to the theme. And that was my least favorite part, because they'd have outfits out and all these skinny fucking assholes would be putting on the outfits. And then there's me hating every second of putting on anything. And I hated it. I hated it so much. So I get that, but no one did it to me. Nobody, like when I look back on that, nobody was like calling me fat or saying I didn't look good. No one. In fact, everyone was like, you look great. So I knew that I was feeling that way because of me. So I'm not going to be on Emily's side, so to speak. But I understand the triggers. It's just, you got to know at some point when that's not someone else's responsibility, you know? So yeah. Shannon, when Shannon's trying on her outfit, Alexis really does try to stop by and be like, yeah, that's really cute, Shannon. I'm like, oh, that's going to go well all night. But it does make me feel like, okay, I don't know what Alexis expects at this point. But anyway, but Tamra and Heather, they're talking off to the side, and Heather tells Tamra about how Katie tried to talk to her about the paparazzi thing, but she shut her down. And I will admit I did. I wouldn't let her talk. And Tamra is like, this is my moment to create this bullshit. And she's like, Katie was set up. Gina was behind this. And they flashed to Katie telling Tamra earlier that day, Gina told me what to say. She said, I knew about the paparazzi, so all these other things like tagging and snubbing me at Sutton's event, I knew you're already a liar. I'm like, now I know you're lying. Now I know that Gina did not say these things to you, because Gina never, ever thought anything about the tagging. The tagging was like, No, I don't think that Heather would do. That's like weird warfare to I don't know I don't know what that would prove. So when was she saying, here's what you say to Heather? You say the whole thing with the paparazzi it means I know you're a liar because I know you did the paparazzi thing, and just that was so far-fetched. That was what Katie was feeling, not what Gina was feeling. Gina's got so much of her own shit going on. I can't imagine her drawing those conclusions from those clues. I just don't. I don't see it personally. I just personally don't see it. But Tamra will not rest until Heather is mad at Gina. So she's like, Gina told Katie that she believes the paparazzi stuff is real, but I have to keep her close because of the real estate connections. And Heather's like, well, guess what? She lost those connections. And anyway, they do the fashion show. And then after the fashion show, Heather tells Gina, it's the worst thing that she could have done. She tells Gina, we need to talk, but not tonight, tomorrow. I'm like, fuck you. Now she's going to have to stress about it all night long until you can talk to her. But then Tamra goes and tells Katie, I talked to Heather about the Gina thing, and she said, I will never give Gina any real estate business again. She's just like relishing in that. Like, first of all, that's not how Heather said it, but it's like, yeah. And then Katie's like, great. She's going to hate me forever. Yeah. At this point, yeah, she is. But why is Tamra so into making Gina look like the bad guy here? And I don't get it. I'm going to give it up to Heather. She gives an amazing speech after the fashion show about her kids and how lucky her and Terry are, and how not every kid in the LGBTQ plus community has the support that her kids have. And so she has made it her mission to try and help as many other families as she can. And that I'm never going to take away from her. That was awesome. But Gina tries to talk to Katie at one point, and now Katie fucking has the power, and she's like, not tonight. We're not going to do it here at this event. But Emily, meanwhile, is trying to broker an entire conversation between Shannon and Alexis, which somehow Heather is on board for. Alexis goes over to Heather, which is actually pretty cool of her, and says, Emily's just told me she wants me to talk to Shannon. I know this is your event. Do you want that to happen? And I was surprised. Heather was like, yeah, okay, why not? This is a nice event. We can do that here. I'm like, really? Okay. But Shannon is obviously not about to do that. And Heather does manage to say, though, she's like, okay, after that, because in the spirit of, what did she say? She's like, yeah, it's all love here. So maybe it'd be good. And I feel like in the spirit of that, she then says to Katie, I shut you down earlier and that wasn't cool. Let's talk tomorrow. So, okay, she checked herself. That's good. But Shannon is leaving. Shannon's got to go do her show with Vicki. So she says goodbye to everyone. And she goes over to Alexis and says, I hear that you're trying to have a conversation with me and I'm not interested. Then she walks off. Shannon sometimes doesn't really move her arms. Shannon walks very like up and down, like in a bounce. And she doesn't like move her arms as she like walks away after saying this like savage thing. And Alexis is like, okay, I'm just trying to make it so that we can, coexist. I'm like, that's not happening, Alexis. Come on now. All right. The next day, they go to these vineyards, but they have to do a damn bike ride. And I was with Gina and Katie. I love a workout when it's time for the workout. If I'm in like makeup and an outfit, I don't want to get on a bike. Okay. Shit's hard. Shit's not easy. So they get to the table. And right away, Gina brings up the stuff that's happening with Katie. And Katie's like, well, you're calling me a liar. And Gina's like, yeah, you're a liar. But Gina's actually, she goes to 10 really quick, really, really quick. I didn't bring this up already yet, or I skipped this part rather. Gina was like crying and venting to Emily earlier in the day. And Emily's being a really good friend in this scene. And she's coming in like she's had a rough morning. Like this isn't her best moment. But Gina's like crying and she's like, I really need friends on my side right now. And Katie goes, you think telling Tamra I'm a liar means we're friends? The way Gina goes, you are a liar. You are a lie. That was out of control. You are, gross. It's so annoying. That accent is not an accent. It's just some weird made up shit you're doing. But anyway, Gina's like, bring the receipts then, bitch. Like, go ahead. And Katie's like, well, I can't prove we had a conversation. And so Emily's like, well, what did she say? And Katie says that she was like, Heather and I are close and she helps me with my career. And Emily and even Heather, like Emily's like, that's not bad. Like, is that a bad thing? And Heather looks over to Tamra and goes, that's not what you told me. No, it's not. What a shock. And Gina denies. She's like, I'm not even like using Heather's real estate connections. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Katie goes, but she's helping you with the Altmans. And Gina goes nuts. I'm not working for the fucking Altmans. Why? What happened? Emily is continuing to step in to support. And I think Tamra is like, okay, this isn't going the way I expected it to. So let me get in here. So she goes, Gina, you're being so defensive. You look guilty. Okay. And Heather believes Gina. Heather's like, yeah, no, she's looking at Katie and she's like, this just doesn't track. But Gina is like, I can't have my world this fucked up right now. And Tamra goes, your world is not fucked up. No, it's not. That was so fucking rude to me. I don't know why. I was like, oh God, that was just ick. Your world is not fucked up. Ugh, no, it's not. That doesn't fit the storyline I'm trying to create for you. Gina's like, you have no fucking idea. And Jen's like, we don't know what's going on actually. So would you tell us? And Heather's like, yeah, what don't we know? And Gina's crying and Tamra, because Tamra, she sees what Tamra's doing. All Gina can say is, you're a fucker. And Tamra's like, oh, I'm ready to pounce. And I could tell Gina doesn't really, she's like, no, I love you, but you're a fucker. And Tamra goes, oh, why? Because I like Katie. Wow. So you really are painting this entire narrative for Gina. Like you're trying to give her this storyline that Gina brought on Katie, but now she's done with Katie and needs everyone else to hate Katie, when that's not what's happening at all. But okay, Tamra. Am I a bad person because I like Katie? She still likes you. And again, Emily defends Gina. And it's like, she's going through a tough time with Travis. And Gina then opens up about that. What Gina says here, though, I would like to talk about a little bit, because Gina says that she's worried Travis is not going to, quote, be able to work on or work through his stuff and therefore not able to stay in the relationship. So it really is like, Travis, can you get it together? Can you get out of this divorce? Can you start making money? Can you come up to meet me at my level? I really am seeing that for Gina. Like, I want the best for myself and I can't be with somebody who's going to keep pulling that down. But now it seems like he's just not pouting, but it kind of seems like he's all like boohoo sad. And I get it's a sad moment, but it's like, is there going to be room for me in your life? Like, if we're supposed to move in together later down the road, why are you doing all these renovations to the house? Because like, then you're not going to want to leave that house. And you've already said that, I can't afford to be, I don't know. I don't know what he's like. It doesn't seem like you're trying to concern yourself with how we're all going to live together again. It seems like you're getting comfortable in this place that I'm not allowed to live in. So that is fair. But it does seem like he is a little bit of a baby about it. I don't know. I still can't quite put my finger on what's happening in that relationship. But then it's like it kind of resolves with Katie, but it doesn't really. Like, Katie's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to put you through whatever. And she's like, just stop. And like, let's be fine. And that I'm sure it's not going to be fine. I'm sure it's not. Very clear. Oh my goodness, this was a lot. This was a lot to cover. All right, I'm going to go now. Love you guys. Mean it. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in to She's Speaking with Emily Hanks. This show is produced, hosted, and edited by me, Emily, and brought to you in partnership with Cloud 10 Media. If you are looking for bonus content, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. To show some support, you can hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Another free way to support the pod, please rate and/or review on whatever platform you listen. It's free and it helps the algorithm. or something. You could also head to buymeacoffee.com/shespeaks and buy me a coffee or two. Make sure you're following me on all social medias. I am She's Speaking with Emily Hanks across all platforms: Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. That's it. Thank you guys. See you soon.